へいやはっ邪魔だやったらドンはい、よくできました。次のフェーズに移り。
Hello there, Indie Warriors. Literary Rose here with I Dream of Indie to talk to you about Dusk Diver 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Dusk Diver 2 is a single-player action RPG taking place in a futuristic magical Taiwan. You play Yumo, a college student who has a special gauntlet of power that gives her and her compatriots extraordinary combat abilities which they use to defeat enemies such as chaos beasts. There's a lot going on in this plot, and I must admit a good chunk went over my head because it appears to be very directly tied to the plot of the first game. Dusk Diver 2 is my first game in the series, so while I was able to pick up on some key plot beats, the details eluded me. In short, you're a magical girl with magical friends fighting monsters in a different dimension connected to the real world. Think Persona. In fact, Persona was all I could think about while playing this, which is a great game to bear similarities to. While I did struggle to understand nuances of the plot, it was engaging enough for me to slow down and attempt to catch myself up with what I can, and the game does offer a refresher for new or returning players if you wish to check it out. But enough about the story. You want to hear about the gameplay. The best way I can describe it is Persona meets Dynasty Warriors. You level up abilities, you upgrade skills, upgrade weapons, change party members according to plot points. You have special attacks that use a different meter to unleash more powerful and exciting movesets. Also like Persona, you have a hub world filled with places to stop and eat, chat with faceless NPCs who sometimes have side quests for you, and overall bask in the deeply beautiful world of Dusk Diver 2. I did get frustrated at times because I kept getting lost in these densely packed city maps. They were like little labyrinths with the appropriate honking of cars in the background. The game does have a map in the upper right corner, but I could not for the life of me orient myself correctly, and I can't say really whether it's me or the game, so I will default to it being a me issue. Nevertheless, if that upper right hand corner map isn't for you, there's a larger map that's easily accessible using one of the menu buttons, and you can even hover over all the points of interest to see exactly what the location is, which helped in getting around a lot. Now, the combat sections, where you are enclosed in battles with enemies or going through dungeons, is where the Dynasty Warriors part of the game comes out. The combat in Dusk Diver 2 is focused on combos, dodging, and countering attacks, all in a fluid fashion. You can juggle enemies in the air as you combine your heavy, light, and special attacks, with weaker enemies basically unable to fight back as you beat them to death. It felt extremely satisfying to line up all the combos and start building a rhythm with my characters, who had so many interesting movesets at their disposal, but the fights take forever. It feels like I spend an eternity beating up the same weak enemy, either because I'm too weak, or what I think is the issue, the enemies are damage sponges. Either way, while the combat feels great to jump around and match up a kick with a slam down move followed by some electric shocks, it loses its appeal when the fuckers keep getting back up. They take so many hits to go down, even when I was using all my special abilities with the extra damage to just take them out as quickly as possible. This, however, was an issue I was willing to forgive because while the battles could take longer than I liked, they were never particularly challenging. Some enemies took a little more thought like I mentioned before, but overall you could just spam particular attacks, dodge every so often, and you'd be fine. And I kind of like that, and I kind of don't. I do wish the game rewarded the player for a little bit more thoughtful play, but c'est la vie. In terms of difficulty, I would place Dusk Diver 2 on the easier side. And there's so many opportunities to farm enemies in order to level up, so if that's your jam, go for it. In fact, I kind of enjoy farming for levels, and I was interested in that for a while when I saw there was a luck stat, but then I figured out that luck stat was just critical hit chance. I was hoping it was going to be like, get special item drops from enemies, but no such luck. Now, a little tidbit for y'all about Dusk Diver 2. It originally came out on the PC February of this year, and now the Switch port is out, and it is mediocre at best. I love my Nintendo Switch. but damn is the hardware not holding up as more and more games come out, including indie games, which tend to be lighter on the hardware side. Everything about this game is hindered by the limitations of the Switch. The frame rate dips at points, the combat lags, there's a lot of popping in of different assets, especially in the city area where there's people and businesses everywhere, and the graphics look like hot trash. The one exception was the 2D anime portraits, which is what led me to look up the gameplay for the first and second Dusk Diver on the PC. And I can confirm that it is the Switch destroying the beauty of this game, because on the PC, do the first and second game look stunning. AA indie quality. Unfortunately, docked and handheld made no difference with the issues I experienced, and while these issues are sort of minor, they definitely sap at the unique qualities of the game, and worst of all, make the combat, which is already kind of tedious by nature, even more so. This becomes worse in the dungeons, where the frame rate and camera and movement and everything is out to get you. And even before I figured out that Dusk Diver was originally from PC and looked up how it looks on the PC, I couldn't help but notice how pixelated everything looked. And not pixelated like an artistic choice, pixelated like PlayStation 2 style. Definitely not like a game that was released this year, and I was half expecting this to be a port of an older title. But I will say the Switch can still at the very least produce good audio, and Dusk Diver 2 has a fantastic soundtrack as well as sound effects. The battle music in particular was especially exciting and fun to listen to, which in some ways made the slow combat even harder to ignore. Dusk Diver 2 seems to be a very good game on the PC, but Dusk Diver 2 on the Switch just plain sucks.
敵発見。みんな戦いの準備を。
We thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content right here at I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that help to make this channel possible. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Adriana Amato, CJR, Julian Kolbis, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Christian Cruz, PSC, Solaru C, Chic Geek, Ancha277, Acrophobe, and Raphael Andrioli. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Nathan Moore, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Chiron, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, Ophidian Mind, Lord Metroid, Seacoil, and Larkison. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. If you're interested in becoming an indie warrior or legend yourself, you'll have access to the Gamer Joe radio show, our Discord, and so much more. Help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.